So if you believe the market's great, then you have a greater propensity, the brain does, to lead you to things where the market, where you'll have more success in the market. So again, business leaders, business owners, business managers need to work on the tactical, strategic things, Scott, that we talked about. They also need to work on themselves and the way they process information and the way they change their behavior as required by the situation around them. And like I said, one of the things I've observed in dozens of coaching clients is they get it intellectually, they get the idea, they get the tactic, and they just have a heck of a time changing themselves internally in order to be able to implement whatever it is we've discussed. They find all kinds of reasons, all kinds of things excuses for not implementing, and they just don't. And those who can implement have massive, massive success. I have a client in Montana who has, at last count, 7 pieces of property under contract. I have a person who isn't a client and a friend, a real estate broker in Denver. His business is up 57% in '09 over '08 in a market that's supposed to suck. There's a retailer down here on the bricks downtown in downtown Boulder whose business is up 25 or 30%. Because they have been able to implement the changes that they know they should implement. And I think that's really the key, is to observe the things around you, and once you find something you want to do, then you have to implement it, but you have to work on you. You have to change you so that you can implement. Most people struggle with implementation, and like I said, we've talked about some things to change that, and it's repetition. Yeah, and yes, and part of it is trust, and part of it is changing habits, because we do have habitual ways of doing things. And if what you're doing, the definition of insanity, as we've heard it 10,000 times, is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And I see that a lot with my clients. And what we really need to do is change the way we do things. Right, and I'm not a therapist, and you're not either, and so I tend to not deal with their therapy issues. But if you want to change, I can help you change. I don't know, a good question. I guess I hadn't thought about that. It's when the pain gets so high that they can't avoid it anymore. And they say, I got to do something different. I'm bleeding here. The spear in my chest is awful, and I've got to make some change. I'm going back. I mean, I've got an acquaintance who likely will go bankrupt rather than do something different, rather than make a change. And that's a shame to me. Person been in business for 35 years, and if the person would adopt new marketing strategies, which means a change in behavior and a change in somewhat his belief system about how business comes to him, then he could achieve massive results, because his clients, guess what, just love him to death. Well, part of it still is, what do you believe to be true about the world and about yourself and about business and what you deserve? And we're all hardwired in that area. And again, help is available. If you identify the pain, and you can identify some affirmations in particular that will help you with that, then you just repeat the affirmations for hundreds or thousands of times until you change the synaptic connections in the brain. I mean, I think I shared with you that when I first came upon the money affirmation, life wasn't great. And I said it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And guess what happened? The money started coming. And then I stopped saying it, Scott. And you know what happened? Went back to the old connections. And guess what I've started doing? I've got story after story after story of clients who get the tactical stuff, and they just can't implement because of what's going on inside their heads. And I get other clients who get the tactical stuff and think they deserve it, and think that they can do it, whatever it is, in terms of marketing or business development or process, and miraculous things happen. But you got to change the inside of your head, because if you intellectually understand what needs to be done and emotionally you can't carry it out, then it doesn't matter. Well, we would talk about where they are and what they've been doing, and we would talk about what they believe they should have, and we'd identify strategies and tactics personally that would help them grow and change, and it would probably be something on the order of what I talked about, is what are the affirmations, what do we need to change, what do you believe you can have, and then if what you believe you can have doesn't serve you, then we need to talk about changes that we can do. Affirmations and repetition and that kind of thing. But the pain has to be pretty high. Well, then it's easy. If they can implement, then we design a series of strategies and tactics to have them move forward. It's interesting because I've talked to people who spend huge percentage of their time thinking about marketing. Some of them do the BSO, the bright shiny object. They take the marketing strategy of the week. Some of the people are great technical people in their field of expertise. They know how to do whatever it is they do. They don't know how to market it. That's what I do, is help people market. So we design a set of marketing strategies and tactics that they can implement that will bring them massive success. And frankly, in today's market, there's huge opportunity, folks. All you got to do is figure out what's working, and you may know how to make chocolate or make wine or make beer or repair shoes or whatever it is you do, repair computers, but you don't know how to market it. You don't know how to talk to an audience, and you don't know about messaging, and you don't know about return on investment. The 80-20 rule, Scott, as you know, is one of my favorite aphorisms, and that is, and I've done this hundreds of times with an audience, is you earn 80% of your money in 20% of your activities, and 20% of your money in 80% of your activities. So basically, you take 4 days off a week, have your income go down by 20%. Most people would say, I'd take that in a heartbeat. The problem is they don't know what they're doing that's producing the wealth. So one of the things we do with coaching clients in the early part is assess their business and see what it is that where their business comes from, what their marketing plan looks like, and focus on the things that produce the outcome they want. And sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's process, sometimes it's staffing. It doesn't matter. I'm not a jack of all trades, and that said, I do have a lot of experience in a lot of fields. So we would do an assessment first. Well, there's a couple of parts to the first session, and we do a couple of assessments in the beginning, which is a how you work assessment and a how you're motivated assessment. It's called the DISC assessment and the PIAV, personal interest, attitudes, and values, and then this VIP mentor program success checklist. All of that stuff, which is a couple of 3 hours on my part, is the investment for that, depending on the person, is $500, and it's basically a couple 3 hours of time plus a couple of assessments. And then we'd probably launch into either a group coaching session with 6 to 10 other entrepreneurs and or one-on-one. And I want to talk about those investments one-on-one with people if they're interested. Email is the easiest. Oh, no, let's do phone. Let's have some human contact. Toll-free number is 800-418-0401. That's 800-418-0401. Just call, leave a message. I'll return your call when I get to the phone.